Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Make Calcutta Relevant Again, the podcast. And with me today, I have these two young gentlemen, these two young, good looking gentlemen, great for our PR shots and our reels. It's going to get a lot of that young attention from those young people out there. I have Raghu and I have Teej. And here's a rapper and a DJ, producer, musician, both of them musicians, because we've joked about this before. If you've seen that one infamous reel that we put out from 145 East, where we challenged or questioned their musicianship.
Shout out to Cash Chatterjee da as well.
Yeah.
In the house,
Dr.
CEO
Cash.
of Mystery Music label.
But today here we are talking about how the music landscape of our city, of our beloved city, is changing, evolving with every passing month. We decided to put out something called Homebound, and it's an IP that we created a couple of months ago, and it's been seeing some crazy things. We're getting some crazy responses. So we thought, why don't we come together, talk about Homebound and what we are trying to build for this city. But before that, I think it's important we find out who these people are, in case you haven't been acclimatized with their social media presences. So I'll start with Raghu on my right. Raghu,
Yes, sir.
elevator pitch. Yeah,
Yes.
we know that you're an artist, you're a poet, you're a rapper, beatboxer, but where does all this come from? What's the origin story?
So I would go by the word like how Drake said it start from the bottom, now we here. In my case, it start from the washroom, now we here. So you know what it is, baby. So I'm a composer, lyricist, rap artist, and
Bathroom
yeah,
trained.
straight up bathroom, washroom trained. Like I think so. It started actually back in the lockdown. My rap bit, when I actually decided to be an artist, the whole idea of me becoming an artist sort of like came to life. I could like actually envision myself as an artist that time, and before that actually I was totally into corporate. We were running a venture in fabrics, and like I was a source head and stuff. Complete boring stuff. So I'm not going to talk about that. But I was a poet actually before me getting into music and stuff as well, right? And once the lockdown ended, I hit one of my very dear friends up, Jeremy, Rick. I started my journey with him as well. And June, when the lockdown ended, we hit the studio. It's actually, when I look back, right now we are like this. We have Blooper House Studios, this A1 studio, right? Like, but there's every facility here. Back then, we just had a laptop, a mic. We took out all the clothes from the cupboard and put the mic in the cupboard, and we had to close the cupboard from the back. So I was standing, and it's like when I was hitting my rap, for the first time on that mic, it's like I'm giving a speech in complete darkness. And now, looking at how far we've come and stuff as well, it feels great. And so journey started from the lockdown. Actually started from the washroom during the lockdown. And that's pretty much it. And then from there it's just been back and forth. And we've even 2022 this record label deal came through, so a lot of Bombay Cal. We were representing Cal in Bombay.
Yeah.
And
That's actually when I met you, I think.
yeah,
'Cause
that's
you'd
exactly when we met.
You'd met one of my dear friends that we'd been doing a bunch of stuff in Calcutta with, and he probably directed. Dibbo, yeah.
Dibbo, yeah.
And he probably directed one of your music videos. or
Yeah,
something.
dude, that was such a great time as well. So me and Debo, again, one of the most talented directors I've actually met in my life from Calcutta. We met for a project in Goa.
Yeah.
And this was my first project from the label. And, when we met each other, and he goes, oh, you're from Calcutta, right? So, yeah, and we did this project in Goa. And so, again, that's how I started meeting more and more people outside the city. And when I started doing shows outside, my first show I remember outside was all about music. It's basically this pan-India reunion in the music industry. This time they did it after 2 years in Bombay, and this was at Taj Lands End. And it was great. So the fact of the matter is, when you do your showcase, I had a showcase on the first day. It was backed up by YouTube Music India, right? And then when people are asking, okay, which city are you from? So I always have this one thing with them, okay, guess. If you guess it right, usually I tell them I would get you a meal or anything like that. But obviously we had this function, right? So I was just asking them to guess, and every time they think I'm a Delhi boy.
He looks
And
like
I look like a Delhi.
Yeah,
Look
he
at-
looks like a Delhi
He
boy.
does.
I don't even blame them. Like, if I
And they
didn't
get
know
shocked
you're
that I'm
from
not from Delhi. They look at me like, "Tu Delhi se kaise nahi hai? Tu Delhi se, you don't know, but tu Delhi se." I'm like, "Bro, मैं कैसे समझाऊँ यार?" But
Yeah, but you're too sweet to be from Delhi.
Yeah.
Like once you get to know Raghu, then you're just like, yeah, man, he's got the exterior of a Delhi boy.
He's delicate.
He's
never judge a
delicate.
book by its cover. Ground rule number
He's
1.
delicate.
What's that, brother?
Was that, brother? Calcutta angle में कहाँ थे अपन? हाँ, Taj
Somebody
Lands
is
End में थे.
asking
Sorry,
you,
yeah.
yeah, where, you ask
Yeah,
them, where,
so,
guess where
yeah.
I'm from.
Yeah, so I think, whenever people ask me, okay, where you from, when they hear me in a different city and stuff, they always assume that I'm from Delhi. When I actually tell them मैं Calcutta से हूँ, so, they get shocked and stuff as well. But they get really, they get so happy and stuff as well that stuff is coming out of Calcutta. And it's like, I don't know why, but it's like such an uncommon thing for them but considering we are the cultural capital, like we come from the cultural capital of the country.
Music
and
capital.
stuff as well. Yeah.
Music capital, everything
Culture in
capital.
terms of like music, art, like you
Everything,
can say
yeah.
dramatics, theatre, anything.
Actual capital as well.
Yeah,
after a
yeah.
certain point
Yeah,
of time.
ex-capital.
Ex-capital. But coming to Teej on that, you had a very different upbringing, right? There was
Yeah,
not-
like your journey started from the washroom. Maybe from Wall Street. I spent a good amount of time on Wall Street in New York.
Are you a banker?
Yeah, investment banker.
Are you an investment
and
banker?
I sold my soul.
I had
and-
no idea
Yeah.
that Teej was actually an
What's
investment.
that, brother?
What's that?
I am not proud. Not proud of it at all. But
No. It's
that's-
okay, man.
No,
It's
dude.
given you like the ability to stay past midnight, like night after night. I think
No,
the resilience that Wall Street teaches you, like being in investment banking.
And it's like the movies. It's absolutely like the movies. People are doing things they shouldn't be doing, staying up at all odd hours in the night. But yeah, it started there. And for some reason, like the way that world works is like you work so hard, but you also get like 2 hours to party, and then you party really hard. And unfortunately, like that put me in a lot of like I guess places in where there was music, and I was like always intrigued by like what was happening in and around the decks, and somehow found my way behind one once.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I am hooked. I see the power that this console can give you to be able to curate an entire night.
And how long ago was that?
That was 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I spent most of my nights trying to get out of work and just learning how to make music and play on the console, and that led to a bunch of shows I got put on. The last one I played in New York was 1,800 people, which was my biggest show that I've ever done, and that gave me the
Nice.
confidence that okay, this journey can continue. It doesn't just have to be the corporate world, right? Music is what gives me life and energy. So I wanted to come back to my hometown, which is Kolkata. This is where I grew up. And I was like, okay, if there's one place that I'd want to build from the ground up, it would be here. And what better city to do it at, where you have, as you said, the music capital, the cultural capital, but also just appreciation for new stuff that I'm kind of like receiving a lot of kindness and love from others around. So that's been amazing. So that's a little bit about my
It's so
journey.
funny you talk about love and kindness, and I think these are two of the words which has really shaped up our movement as well. Like if you look at Make Calcutta Relevant Again as a movement, we run this thing called Make Calcutta Relevant Again with love and kindness, and where we go and feed kids. And we work with them, and we perform for them, or they perform for us. It's always so fun, and they're kids from the most underserved localities in the city.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think that's the only currency that actually makes any difference in the world, right?
Yeah.
Everything else, all of the money that you'd made in Wall Street, at the end of the day, what was it worth? What was
Nothing.
it for? And fast forward to today. I mean, just this last homebound party that we put together, just the amount of appreciation that comes out of people with first timers who are coming into a party. I mean, people came up to me and said, hey, I have actually not had this much fun in a long time. I live in Bangalore, I live in Bombay, I live in Gurgaon, and I hope this is going to go on for long. And for all those who are uninitiated, don't know about Homebound, it's a party series that we started. We shouldn't even call it a party series. It's a music
collective. It's a movement, collective.
Yes.
It's a lifestyle.
It's
Homebound is a
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
It's a way of thinking. It's a mindset.
A POV. Can be
No,
anything, actually.
But it's really a bunch of people who care about music, care about introducing other people to new kinds of music, and I think it's something that we've done in this city for a long time. Interestingly, I've been working with musicians, underground movements, underrepresented musicians and artists for 14, 15 years now.
Yeah.
And that's something that's given me so much joy and hope. Very little money, but a lot of good things. And you don't do everything in life for money, you know.
Yeah.
The happiness that you get out of
Yeah.
just giving people a good time, which is why I've unofficially or officially become the hype man for Homebound.
Hype man.
I have nothing else to do. I just go and jump around a bunch.
No, I mean, you bring in so much of like good energy. You come on board with such great energy, and I think when people see from a crowd's perspective, and like you are behind the deck with us, right? When they see you like being out and about with your movement, you're jumping, you're like loving it, they automatically
Feed off
get
of it.
inclined, and like they get like all the energies get aligned. That's what
Yeah.
I've noticed in these parties, like in our like experiences and stuff, like homebound experiences.
And I think one thing that is giving me the most amount of joy is that after every show, what I hear as feedback is I met people I have not seen in these spaces before.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is what is making me super excited. We wanted to, for this last show, we made it a point. We wanted to support communities without, doing it in a way that's patronizing.
Yeah.
We wanted to give back to the queer community because this is Pride Month. We wanted to support,
And not even just because it's Pride Month. It just
But
happened to be.
it
It's
just happened to
Pride
be,
Month.
yeah.
Just
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
and why not?
And a
And
bunch of people from the queer community,
And, yeah.
came and supported the cause.
and that's what I'm trying to, I think we are all trying to do is like bring people together as like, if we've never interacted, we're providing a platform to have fun together. And so that's what's exciting.
And it's very easy to meet people. I think what happens is when you're, in most of the world, when you look at the initial idea of a party, for most people, it's about, okay, you go out, you drink, you are trying to showcase, oh, I have the biggest table, the biggest bottle, everything that comes with the idea of having fun and not having fun itself.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things we are trying to really break down. Man, I have rarely seen people have so much fun, completely unabashed, unadulterated, and meeting people. I think that's something we don't do because people hide behind, hindrances of what log kya kahenge, log kya sochenge. How can I go and talk to another random person?
So true.
When you're united by the music and you have that common ground which you find with other people, that they're there, and because it's not a genre specific party,
Yeah.
so that one side hip hop is playing or electronic is playing, and along with it some bhangra is playing or Bengali folk is playing or baile is playing, funk is playing, there's something of everything.
Yeah.
And when you're bringing in all of these influences together, suddenly there's 18 to 80-year-olds are able to come together simply with the idea of having a good time.
Exactly.
Not without thinking, oh, you know what, I'm going to sit in a corner with my VVIP table. And no, everyone's on the floor jumping and dancing, and everyone's allowed backstage. I mean, even look at last week. There were a bunch of people who kept coming backstage. That was completely fine. We're like, just come and be part of it. Just whatever, goes with the flow.
I think the whole part
Absolutely.
of our like collective also is to just let the people know like there's like equality pro max, basically. Like everyone's equal. There's
Yeah.
no VVIP treatment. There's no like no one's too extra special. Everyone is special under that one roof, and we're all united.
For that moment, you're not sharing only the space.
Yeah.
You're also sharing the time. with
And
all of them.
emotions
And
and making memories with strangers who don't feel like strangers to you when
By
you're
the end
actually
of
with
it,
them.
so many new people I've met like these last couple of weeks. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm out in Berlin or I'm out in Amsterdam. It doesn't feel like Calcutta
Dude,
in a lot of ways.
Shout out to Beck's Beauty Bar.
Yeah.
To like add to the event, like the last event which we did
All
for
the
all the stones
rhinestones
and all the
and,
accessories and all the
Yeah, I mean, and
elements
so
they
many
added.
different communities coming together, right? And you have the queer community, people from the world of fashion coming through. You have so many different people coming through, and I think hopefully this is going to be the beginning of something very, very unique for our city.
Yes.
It's not just about it's a techno night, or it's a jazz night, or it's a classical night. You're breaking down boundaries at every stage.
Yeah.
And
But I do think that those nights are necessary, for the
100%.
scene, and
Yeah.
they should exist.
100%.
And what they serve for their community is great. Like if you are a techno lover and you're going to a techno gig, by all means, that should
Yeah.
continue to exist.
And Calcutta has been like a centerpiece for that movement, for across the
Yeah,
the country. People look towards that kind of night in
Yeah.
Calcutta. But the moment we're breaking down the genres, the only good thing we're doing is we're breaking down the genres. So it's
Yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
open for
What's
everyone.
that, brother?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like coffee with Karan, coffee with Meghdoot.
Chai.
100%.
Chai with Meghdoot. No, but man, we do things. Most things in life, I think, because we Calcuttans are essentially very purpose-driven people.
Yeah.
And if you have to break down, socio-economic woes for everyone,
Yeah.
people think like, why are Calcuttans the way that they are? Why do they not care about money? Why don't they care about progress? How can the city be so slow? How can because as a people, this is who we are. You have to motivate us with purpose. And I think that's something that significantly sets us apart from all other kinds of people.
True.
It's very hard to drive, motivate Calcuttans only by money.
True.
And one other thing which maybe you guys can explain to me now that I'm like spending some time in Bombay and other cities, what I've noticed about Calcutta people is like there is this mentality of we'll grow together, which I am not seeing in these other cities where it's cutthroat and maybe they're like, okay, I won't tell you this piece of information because it'll benefit
Calcutta,
you.
they'll tell you more.
They'll give you
sit you down, invite you for lunch.
I think because in cities like Bombay, Delhi, and other cities, right, because they're so big and a lot of the industry is actually very active over there. So the people are coming like from all around the country under one roof. Whereas Calcuttans, like not too many people are coming out from outside. So the fact of the matter is how everyone's been like sort of exposed to the same culture, to the same pace of life, to this like it's so similar. I mean, they feel like also so I guess the unity sort of the tinge of that unity comes from there. And yeah, itna hi tha bhai. I was talking shit.
Too much insight from this guy.
Yeah, it was pretty much that one
It's
sentence.
really, I think with Raghu, it's hard to know if he's actually thought about this before saying it. It's like direct connection उसका मुंह के साथ brain का कुछ भी, because rapper है ना. So
I'm artist हूँ यार.
Yeah. But no, it's good. It's like Hasmukh Insan. We need more of those. It's always been fun whenever we hang out, and it's bang for the buck. Tell me one other city in the world which has better food. You spend time in Bombay.
Yeah, Bombay, absolutely. I'm gonna get cancelled, but shit food.
Shit food.
Shit food.
If somebody's cancelling you, they just are very insecure, man. It's their problem. It's not your
know.
problem. Yeah.
I would say Delhi is up there.
Delhi has good street food. Lucknow has good food.
Top. Like I love Lucknow.
Yeah.
And Bombay में तो छोड़ दो like मेरे को पुचका बोल के पानी पूरी खिला दी. So वो scene हो गया था थोड़ा.
But less than 50 rupees in Calcutta, you can still get, I think, two people's. You can almost get a 1.5 person solid, like you won't be able to move kind of meal.
Yeah.
Less than 50 rupees, which I don't think is available anywhere else. And now with the new crop of like high-end cuisine also, making its foray into the city, like we've had good 5-star restaurants for a while, but if you look at the city now with standalone good restaurants sort of making their way, I think the city is getting more and more relevant, guys.
100%. 100%.
One of the things that I loved, by the way, about the last Homebound was the fact that we had a live musician with us. And it's not something that happens often. And if we are okay with it, guys, maybe we invite the guy, the star of last night.
The star.
The most unexpected moment of my night. I walk in and I think the guys had again mentioned that something was happening.
Yeah.
But again, did not process. And I see this guy that I had once met in Pondicherry on the street randomly, who came up and said, oh yeah, I'm like Bob's friend and I run a school where I teach music. I'm like, cool. This was like a while back. And I
What's that, brother?
What's that, brother? I met and this guy, turns out we have a lot of common connections. And Sukrit, he's been a big part of bringing people back here. He's been a music teacher. He's been working closely with our with the movement with the River Rangers, where we clean up the ghats every Sunday. But I think on that note, let's bring Sukrit draped in his amazing veshti, the artist for today, for that last episode of Homebound, and hopefully a lot more collaboration.
A lot more.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, bro.
So you guys choose who wants to stick on board.
Because in the last Homebound, Tejas and Sukrit had a beautiful set.
Right.
So
They did
it was like a total back-to-back collaboration going on between them.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful, so mesmerizing. I think when I was looking at people, they were so overwhelmed with the sound which is being played around, and I mean their smiles couldn't go up their faces. And I think people like us, right, like as artists, like we feed off other people's happiness by providing it to them, or just a good experience for them. So I would love like Tejas and Sukrit to speak about their art, their collaboration.
Sure. The process. Maybe that'd be a good idea.
100%.
So we have a little switcheroo.
So we're gonna switch it up. My 25th shout out to SukuMama, Sukrit Sen, baby.
Yeah. No cuts. We don't cut on this season. Please focus on his red veshti. I think the one thing that has been attracting the most amount of attention. Suddenly, it was mostly your ponytail, but now it's your veshti which is taking up. So first, let's start with the story of the veshti. Why do you have a red dhoti?
Well, my close friends would know, but for those who don't, chupti jalti garmi, chupti jalti garmi ka mausam aaya. And I strongly advocate the fact that we need to get back to our traditional cultures. I think they make so much more sense, like with the context.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I'm promoting it.
No, way to go, man. I mean, we've been promoting the gamcha, we've been promoting the traditional clothes of Bengal. I mean, maybe the next show you wear one of these on stage.
I'm happy to.
Yeah. So, elevator pitch. Who is SukuMama? Why is he called SukuMama? and how did you end up from that one weird night that I met you in Pondicherry to the stage of Homebound? And I was very glad to see that, and everything that ensued after that. I was so happy to see that beautiful collaboration the two of you had. I mean, we're gonna collect some of the video footages that we have from that night, and this is where we introduce them into the thing. That was something we were saying to the team, but I guess we could keep it into the podcast. And the story of your Straight Outta Calcutta, sticker on the back for I don't know which camera is on. Straight Outta Calcutta. That's what we call represent.
Hey.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, that's mainly for when I'm taking pictures outside and people are like, "Where are you from?" I'm like,
Straight Outta
"Well,"
Calcutta.
and yeah, I
Are you a
prefer.
photographer?
Well, I
Dabble in photography.
Multifaceted.
whenever I have the time.
Okay.
So I think it all kind of leads to like my life so far. However, I have kind of transformed to whoever I am, and I'm still kind of continuing to be. I am technically. I have my bachelor's in architecture, then I've done my master's in heritage management, and then my current research is on disaster management and traditional indigenous knowledge systems and intangible cultural heritage in disaster management. I look after the Calcutta chapter of what we call the Living Waters Museum, and my work primarily runs around looking at the role of arts and artists in climate action. So
Which is how you know my wife.
Exactly.
Which is the whole right. It all makes sense now.
I think I'll go back to a conversation that I was having with my parents and my close people when I was in class 12, and I think 99% of the community thought that I'm going to take up music because I've always learned the tabla and I'm still learning the tabla, and everyone thought that I'm going to be a musician. But then I think a very interesting conversation, even when I think about it right now, I think that, wow, it was so mature of me to have this conversation with my parents. But my mom and I were talking, and my mom was like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't want to study I don't want to study medical or engineering because I hate mathematics. Like, I just don't understand it." And my mom was like, sure, then just do something. Why don't you like take music? So I think what I said was, well, we all know that art, unfortunately rather, is still a very fragile career. And we've all seen during COVID, the artist community was like
One of
one
the worst
community
hit, yeah.
was one of the worst hit. And at no point of time I thought that I would want to curse my love, the love of my life, my music, because it is not being able to feed my family. So I was like, I'm always going to keep it a side gig because I want to keep going back to it because I love it the most. But then interestingly, I studied architecture, went into heritage conservation, did my internship at a fantastic firm in Delhi. I realized I'm not into buildings also. I'm into people. I started working with people. When I started working with people, I realized people also sing. And then I started, doing my research on how these traditional songs can actually talk about climate action, or how artists have actually been documenting, climate change way longer than scientists have actually been doing it, to be very honest.
And even in India, we've seen the likes of Rahul Ram being a huge proponent
Exactly.
during the Narmada Bachao
Yeah,
Andolan.
yeah.
He came back from Harvard and he was here with
yeah.
the people,
Absolutely.
pushing for
Yeah,
Narmada
absolutely.
Bachao. And that has happened throughout history, right? And across most indigenous cultures, you'd see that. So, how do you relate that with the way that you look at? I think it was very uncommon, right, for you to go up on stage in a place which is not necessarily a place very frequented
Oh yeah,
by
of course.
like traditional percussionists, perhaps, and go from very very different backgrounds onto that. How was that experience?
Well, to tell you first, I think the biggest shocker that came was when Teej called me and I had a conversation and he was like, listen, we have a show on the 15th. I was like, I'm sorry, but I already have a show on that day. But then he said, but the show is at 11 o'clock. I'm like, wait, what?
What?
I'm generally sleeping.
Berlin conference hoy onek rattire hai, very late at night we're all sitting and listening to music.
So, yeah, literally I told him like, I'm happy to do it, but I'm just scared I might be a little sleepy.
Nobody was sleepy that night. Let's just put it
I
that
clearly
way.
wasn't. I clearly wasn't. And I am not a nightclub person. I'm like happy to kind of tell that. But I think after that experience, I've told Teej and Raghu and Tushar who were there that I think it's one of the most liberating experiences that I've ever had, and it's completely changed my outlook on the entire idea of nightclub. Like I lead heritage walks in Calcutta, and particularly when tourists come in and I have to take them out for a walk at night. All the places I go to, they show us out. They're like, bro, it's 10 o'clock. You cannot come in here. So very honestly, again, it was kind of naive of me, but I was like, okay, Calcutta sleeps after 10 o'clock. Like, it's dead.
Oh, you could not be more wrong.
Literally, like, I'm not
part
even
of
kidding.
Calcutta.
When after the show, when I came back, I was actually so happy. I was so full of energy. I was up till like 6 o'clock. I was talking to my friends in the US because I was like, great, my hard times are finally matched.
Yeah.
Let's talk. The first thing I told my friend was, dude, do you realize there are 500 people who are dancing at 3 o'clock at night in Calcutta? What are you doing in the US? Come back.
I love it.
So that's it. I think it was a complete different experience, and we've been experimenting on whatever collaborations we've been doing so much. And I think there has even after the show, I think there has not been an end to our collaborations because we've been forwarding things on Instagram on what things we can do.
And we were in the studio today making music. But I think one thing that is different about that collaboration and the setting we were in was that, I feel like we could replicate that night and put it in a different context and it just wouldn't work. And the reason is, like, I've seen, live percussionists accompany electronic music, and it becomes very much like, a forceful thing when there's a complete separation between the audience and the artist. But what I think kind of worked was there was like that fluidity, like we were all moving around, people were watching, dancing. It didn't feel like a show was being put on, while also people were like, I'm gonna dance to this music. So I think it worked in that context really well, and I'm happy it did, and I'm sure we'll iterate and do newer things, and
absolutely.
it'll work again.
I think let's face the fact, however Western cultures influence us, I think everyone in India is still very desi at heart. Like, we just need to trigger the right emotions.
I agree, but that my experience has been slightly different. What I'm noticing is there's a lot of Western worship that is still very central in a lot of people's minds. And the moment you you'd play something folk, or you'd play something that's true to, like our culture, our own people, it's not met with that level of like nostalgia or like endearment the same way you if you play this in the West, and the people there, they're trying to latch on to some form of their culture. But like I'm it's my mission, and that's what I think I've come back with, is like we're gonna make our shit cool again. And our shit is really cool to begin with, music from our city, music from our country. So I hope that happens.
And it's been relevant. I think our music has been way ahead of its time in general. Like, if you look at
all the time.
all of Indian music, if you look at classical music, it's perhaps the one thing that people are scared of the most to touch, because it is almost untouchable in terms of like it's of how good it is and how much time it takes to get mastery over it, which means it's just like an advanced form of music, right? Which is you spend lifetimes getting close to something like that.
In fact, one of the most amazing kind of feedbacks that I got from most of my friends was because I mostly kind of do Indian classical shows. And a lot of my friends are not really interested in that. And there's no, disrespect for that. But then when they actually saw, I've been putting up, posts about this show and everyone's like liking it and everything, but they all thought that it's going to be just another show with Sukrit playing the tabla and with some Indian classical music or something happening at night. But then when they saw the kind of entire setup post the show, everyone was like, dude, why didn't you tell us it's going to be like this? Like, we would have totally come. I'm like, to be very honest, even I didn't know it's going to be like this. Like, I had an idea it's going to be really cool because I really enjoyed what we kind of, did. But I feel like you just got to be there to feel what happened, because I think the best part about musicians on stage, and particularly live music on stage, is that a lot of it happens on stage. This cannot be rehearsed.
It's completely improvised.
It cannot be rehearsed. It's what we feel. It's like we're not talking to each other. We're just like looking at each other, and through our music, we are communicating.
Yeah.
And it's a language you cannot teach with years of experience. It's something that you got to develop over years, and I think that's what played very well. We had a really good energy.
I
Shout
hope
out to
it's
you.
a lot of these people. Okay, another shout out. 26 shout out.
26 shout out.
Don't get influenced by Raghu. We don't start doing shout outs every minute. But I hope it's a lot of these people, because if things go right, we might end up throwing the next version of Homebound on a big boat.
Wow.
Okay.
Nothing
Nothing
more.
promised
Nothing more
yet.
now.
I like the idea of a water.
Oh, because it sinks in well with your and
with
bring in
your-
some
I
more.
can talk about the ghats on the way, maybe.
Yeah, one constructive criticism that I did get from the show, and that's important.
Absolutely.
We're not
Absolutely.
here only to talk about the great things we do. I mean, till last night we didn't even know that we were shooting this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Well, I did not know till we set up the table.
Cue the Veshti. No, without giving in any more unnecessary information. But I think one of the things I heard was, for the uninitiated who were there just because they were there, they were not there for the party because it's a very big venue.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were outside just to have dinner or whatever. And for a lot of those people, they were curious, obviously, because why is there so much energy in that room and people are going on bouncing around? I think the venues in general, wherever we do this, needs more information about what the idea of Homebound really is. And I think I got that from a couple of people who really got into it, but initially were afraid or intimidated to enter that space because they did not really understand what was going on. And that's something that I think we might want to deal with. I do not, maybe you're good at telling stories about the water and about heritage and about music. It's the packaging for normal people. And let's not think about the people who are already there because they're there for the music. I mean, of course, the people who are seeing our posts and coming, they already know what the idea is. But for people who are there, might be a good idea to put it out there a little bit in not as many words, but maybe with graphics, with images, or even between sets when we talk about what's happening in a clear, understandable way so people know what's going on.
I agree. I think it's important even to describe our intentions, right? When you're there. Obviously what we're doing with the music. What I also feel is even for the people who know what they're coming for, it can still be confusing, right? They're confused by what is this combination of things that is happening. And then why are we doing this in this setting and what are we trying to accomplish?
So I think something great that we could do in the back end to educate, because see, at the end of the day, I come from the world of education. For me, there is a scope to educate at every stage.
Absolutely.
What we're trying to attempt here is introducing people to things that they were not aware of before. We do not have these kind of parties or these kind of evenings, let's say, anywhere right now. And it's not commercialized, it's not hyper commercialized, it's not gentrified, it's straight up good music happening in a setting where people can be the most authentic versions of themselves. I think an educational moment might be upon us where every week one of us takes the mic and in their home, on their phones, explains the idea of what they bring to the table and what they hope to achieve. I think setting intentions straight is important. How they are doing this for the city, because somebody said on Tushar's post, right? I think Cal was made relevant this night. That made me very happy to hear. I was like, that's cool. One person says that. It shows that you're making progress. But I think that has to happen through a lot more communication, education every single day.
Sure, yeah.
And I think more podcasts like this, doing that.
Absolutely.
A third and last point on the education bit, I think we're currently planning to go to a school that we support, a school for young underprivileged girls. And it's a school that supports a lot of music education. And hopefully we can imbibe some of these things that today we are working with, because we've had that enormous privilege of traveling the world, looking at what's happening in the world and then being able to bring it back to our city. But a lot of the kids from this city need to be able to shape tomorrow's underground movements.
Sure.
And let us not become custodians at any point. Like our role is not to stop people from coming in. We have to open the floodgates, let more of this energy come in. We can only say this is great, this is good enough to go on stage, this maybe needs a bit more work, so let's put that in there. So I think from the education perspective, it's something that I'd like to personally be a bit more involved in, affecting what the future of Homebound is, not just as a movement for people to have fun once a week, or once a month, but as a movement which supports music education throughout and creates the idols of tomorrow.
Sure.
Because if you're not doing that, then we are perhaps not making the city relevant for a very long time. It can only have a timestamp.
Yeah.
We can't have time-stamped movements. We need
True.
to have...
This has to sustain long term. Version of this has to sustain long term. So it can't be done if it's gate-kept. It has to be shared with others. We have to motivate others to also want to do this.
Yes. And just one Homebound is perhaps not enough.
No.
The idea...
We need competition.
We need competition. Yeah, if you're
Everyone
listening. If you're listening in, and come to the same show. Like, if you want to come in and do a set, honestly, open call, guys. I'll take the executive decision on this. If there's a bunch of musicians, you think something like this could, you want to put something up, do a showcase, couple of songs, come by.
Yeah,
we're happy to get more.
I think that's a great idea.
More new energy into that.
That's a great idea.
For the audiences, I don't know if you've understood, but here's two people coming from very, very different backgrounds who somehow ended up becoming musicians. One's an architect and cultural conservationist. One's an investment banker. Both of them making music on stage and giving people joy, which, sort of translates into the fact that perhaps there's no better way to reaching people's hearts and souls than with music and creative industries. So amen to that. Keep practicing wherever you are, keep practicing the arts, keep accepting the arts into your life, because, we've seen this during COVID as well. When everything seemed bleak and hopeless, the arts is what saved us. The creative industries is what gave us hope. And that's what we hope to bring to people, even when there's hope outside. We bring more hope, bring more joy. So, famous last words from both of you before we close down today's episode of podcast. Teej, go first.
Make sure you come to the next Homebound show. We want more of you there. We want to see all your smiles. We want to spread the joy. So but more importantly, I think do what you're doing in your fields, but also keep at the back of your mind that there's a city that you're repping and there's other people that can benefit and learn from you. So share the wealth, share the love.
Ask not what Calcutta can do for you. Ask what
you can do for Calcutta. I think I'd say alongside Calcutta, make art relevant again, whether be in your washroom or at the next Homebound session. See you soon.
Thank you, ladies and gents, for joining us for another amazing session of Make Calcutta Relevant Again, the podcast hopefully tomorrow is a little bit brighter than today, brighter with your joy, your smiles, and your presence at the next Homebound. This episode has not been sponsored by Homebound.web. See you soon.